Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me today. We are continuing with the updates around Orsolya Gaal, mother of two, found in a Bauer hockey duffel bag. And we are continuing the updates. I'll be right back. Hello, my friends. Thank you for joining me today. We are continuing with the updates around the tragic case of Orsolya Gaal. Orsolya Gaal's body was discovered stuffed in a hockey bag on Saturday morning, April 16, in Forest Park in the borough of Queens, New York City. The married mother of two, 51 years old, had been stabbed 58 times by an attacker that they don't have a suspect on yet. She was killed in her home in the basement where she was stabbed 58 times, and then her body was dragged half a mile away and dumped near to a popular walking path on Metropolitan Avenue in the early hours of Saturday morning. Police find the bag, then they follow a trail of blood from the bag that led them about half a mile to an upscale gated community in Forest Hills. Her 13-year-old son Leo was found at home and he was questioned before being released by police. Orsolya Gaal's husband Howard Klein and their eldest son Jamie, who is 17 years old, they flew back to New York from Portland, Oregon, where they had been on a trip checking out colleges. Detectives are trying to piece together all of her final moments as they hunt for her killer. And we're going to be talking about how they have shared that they do have a person of interest that they're wanting to talk to. And so we're going to be diving into that as well. How did Orsolya Gaal die? She reportedly told her son Leo that she was going out to see a show on Friday night with some friends. She is believed to have met up with a man before returning to the $2 million family home later that evening, sometime between 11 and midnight. A neighbor did spot Orsolya Gaal in her yard in the hours before her death. Police say she was killed in the basement of the home. Sources familiar with the autopsy information say Orsolya Gaal suffered 58 stab wounds with knife wounds to her neck, torso, left arm, fingers, and hand. She even had slashes to her palm and fingers that appeared to be defensive wounds, like she was stopping the knife and she squeezed the knife to try to get it away from her. Wow, the tragedy behind this. This is why I'm covering this case and this is why I'm doing it so quickly after doing the first one, because we cannot let this story die. That's the one thing I'm hoping for, is that we do not let this story die. This is one of the most tragic events a person can imagine. And I don't care what she did in her personal life, lead to death. I don't care what anyone says about that. My feeling is it should not lead to death. And so police say that she was killed in the basement of her home with all these defensive wounds. She knew the attacker. She let her attacker in, is what is said to believe, and it did not go too well. And so surveillance footage does show a suspect believed to be the killer dragging a wheeled duffel bag, sports bag containing her body around the 4:30 in the morning time frame on Saturday morning, April 16th. Her body was discovered by a dog walker just after 8 a.m. on a popular walking track on Metropolitan Avenue in Forest Hills. This is along a stretch of roads that cuts through a park. She didn't have any ID on her. Police had followed the bloody trail back to her home on Juno Street, which was half a mile away. They found her 13-year-old son alone on the top floor of the residence. Neighbors reported that he was led away in handcuffs by police for questioning before being released later and cleared of any involvement in the crime. The New York Daily News reported that Leo told investigators he didn't know where his mother was. And detectives say they found no signs of a break-in at the home and believed that the killer was known to Orsolya Gaal. Now, officers have reportedly questioned another teenager who lives in the same Forest Hills neighborhood. And the neighbor, John Blankson, he said he saw Orsolya walking around their shared backyard with her dog on Friday. So that was a sign of life. One of the things that I had wondered yesterday in the video was this text message. Like, how would they know the husband's number? Well, come to find out, unnamed police sources said that the killer used Orsolya's cell phone to send a series of chilling text messages to her husband in the hours after she died. In my last video, I shared a little of that, but this time I'm gonna go a little deeper because, of course, we found out more. See, Gaal's husband had told cops that he got threatening text messages over the weekend. But here's the thing. The high-ranking authorities, they have not seen those text messages. These were only what he allegedly said. So if he's lying about that, that will be found out. But he said he received these chilling text messages that have not been verified. So Howard Klein, her husband, said he received these text messages, and when he spoke to the New York Post on Saturday, April 16th over the phone, he said he was at an airport going to fly back to New York. He was in middle of a terrible experience. That's what he told them. He said his sons were safe, but he said that the family's lives are at stake. He said, there are concerns about our safety. Our lives are at risk. Another threatening text reportedly said the following: your wife sent me to jail some years ago when you were living near Austin Street in Forest Hills. I'm back. Don't call the police or I will kill your family. So basically he said, your wife sent me to jail some years ago. I'm back. Which is chilling on its own. But again, there could be different reasons for these text messages that came directly from her phone. But we know it wasn't from her. And he also made an ominous warning, your whole family is next, in that chilling text. No suspects are named in the case, and it is unclear what the killer was referring to when they said that this whole thing, when he said your whole family's next. So all these text messages really don't know what they lead to, but police have described this case as a mystery. Who is Orsolya Gaal? Orsolya Gaal is originally from Hungary and studied at the Budapest Business School College of International Management and Business. Orsolya Gaal. You can see on her Facebook where friends were posting on there in Hungarian, making comments on there. Orsolya Gaal donated to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. This is a little bit of a look at her Facebook. This is a little of who Orsolya Gaal was. You can see she always with that little dog. That was her little life there. So that's a little of who Orsolya Gaal. I've been pronouncing her name wrong, it looks like too. Orsolya Gaal. One friend wrote on her Facebook timeline, I'll always remember how passionate you were about your boys and their education. I'm so sorry about how you left this world, but I hope you find peace in the afterlife. Another friend said, a few years ago, you prayed for my little girl for me, and now I'm here praying for your family to be able to get through this tragedy. And you can see by her Facebook page, she loved hiking, skiing, traveling, and enjoyed attending live music performances. According to a social media account, she had recently helped her youngest son, Leo, fundraise for his bar mitzvah. And as I mentioned yesterday, they had canceled that bar mitzvah after Mr. Klein had contracted that C-19. And they had lived in this Tudor-style $2 million home for about 9 years, according to her neighbor. Her husband, Howard Klein, if you notice, they don't have the same last name, according to all the reporting, and he founded the boutique financial advisory firm RK Equities in 2002 and he spent 5 years working as an investment banker in Hungary. He has a Bachelor of Art in Economics from the University of Michigan and an MBA in Finance from Columbia University. He is an expert in natural resources, including gold, iron ore, and lithium, and speaks regularly at investment conferences according to his online profile. Now, there have been a couple different reports. One report said that a jogger found her. Initially, he thought the Bauer branded bag might have been thrown away, but his suspicions were raised when the dogs became very agitated as they got closer to the bag, and he opened it and looked inside. And I'm sure you know by now, if you've already followed this story, that he made the comment, it didn't look very fleshy. It was more like a crash test dummy. I thought it was maybe some equipment being used for something. I didn't think anything of it. Then he noticed her black jeans and waist and realized he was looking at a body, and then he called 911. As this investigation continues, we do know that there is a person of interest in this case that they're wanting to speak to, someone that they say that she knew, someone who had access to her home, who even had a spare key. So that's the person of interest that they're looking to talk to. Nothing more has come out. If we find out more today, I will do my best to report on it tomorrow. But we did find out that she was texting 4 men, and she even met one at Lincoln Center before her murder. Investigators are talking to or looking for the people that are connected to Orsolya Gaal. Now, it has been reported that police have identified a person of interest, as I mentioned earlier, and this is a man who had access to Gaal's home in Forest Hills. Police haven't named anyone, and it's unclear if it's the man who sources said met Gaal at Lincoln Center on Friday evening. Later on Friday night, Gaal went to a local bar in Queens where she waited for someone for 40 minutes before heading home alone. It is unclear if she went back to Queens alone or was accompanied by someone. Gaal reportedly returned around 11 p.m. to her home on Juno Street, where she was stabbed 58 times in the basement. Orsolya Gaal, she was reported missing by her husband 2 years before this even happened. Howard Klein had called 911 just after 7 a.m. on May 29th, 2020 to say that his wife had failed to return from a late night stroll the night before. And he ends up calling the police back about a half an hour later saying that she had been found. Going out on a midnight stroll, this is supposed to be a very safe neighborhood. Going out for a midnight stroll and not coming home till the morning, there's a story behind that. Okay, so again, no matter what she was doing in her personal life, it does not deserve this tragic ending. And now investigators do believe that the killer entered the family's home and killed her on the first floor and then took her body to the basement. So again, some reports have been that she was killed in the basement, but investigators believe that she was killed on the first floor of her home, then took her body to the basement. Well, that's the complete update, my friends. We know that they do have a person of interest that they're trying to talk to. That's the main update around there. We know that she was texting with 4 different men before this happened. We know that she went to the bar and was supposed to go out with friends and told her son that she was going out to see a show at Lincoln Center. And so more will continue to come out, and I will keep you updated as we go. My friends, I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have an amazing day. Peace.